On today's show, Brady Tkachuk and the Ottawa Senators earn a statement win over the New York Islanders.
Plus, we look how this D-core has managed without Jake Sanderson and a weekend preview Battle of Ontario coming up.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Today is Friday, March 20th, and Pillsy, we asked, he answered. Brady Tkachuk comes up clutch.
I don't think you can have much more of a Brady Tkachuk statement game. Scoring the game winner in the dying seconds of the game, getting into a fight with the other team's captain off the opening draw, 6 shots on goal, 3 hits. I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything more of Brady Tkachuk in that game, and it was poetic justice that he's the guy that gets the winner. I've been watching that replay, the highlights. The Senators posted a picture-in-picture of Brady scoring, and I think it was a section in the 300s of when he scores. It's just going crazy. They posted the game audio, so you get to hear all the noises of it. The talk with Claire Hanna after his post-game media availability. Like, it's all just so good. If you're a Sens fan, you got to be eating this up. And for everyone that's been down on Brady lately, why aren't we seeing the captain drag his team into the battle? He hasn't come up clutch. He hasn't been physical. When's he going to fight again? Brady answered all of those questions emphatically last night at home.
His first fight since March 27th of last year, almost a full calendar year. And I had a couple people say, wow, your takes yesterday aged poorly. I would say they aged perfectly.
Huh?
They aged perfectly. We said Brady Tkachuk is at his best when he gets involved physically in the game. Not even just the fight, but then his next shift after that, his next shift, you watch Ridley Gregg throw it with Braden Shen, who thought he was going to crush Ridley Gregg. The smirk after he got a couple in right off the bat. Turns out Ridley, good Lethbridge boy, he can eat a couple and give them back twice as hard. Couple Brandon Wheat King alumni is going toe-to-toe here, and Ridley buckled him right to his knees by the end of the fight. Brady was fired up about that, and what does he do? Next shift goes out, crushes Adam Pelech. Like we asked, give me a Chris Neil hit right off the bat, crunches him into the boards. Later on in the game, Matthew Schaefer, little gamesmanship when Lars Eller had his skate blade lost, kind of blocks him off. Who's there? Bodyguard. Brady comes in, pushes him out of the way, says, hey, come with me, Lars. We're going to the bench, fella. Just an all-around fantastic game. Couple great opportunities he could have scored on earlier in the game. The chance at the end of the second period, had a slot opportunity in the third, didn't go his way, but he battled through and backdoor gets the puck through with 11 seconds remaining. We know Brady Tkachuk loves to fight captains. The 4th time in his career that he's fought a captain. The others, Jacob Trouba, Blake Wheeler, and Shea Weber back during the All-Canadian division. Just a fantastic performance from Captain Brady Tkachuk in this game. We could speak ad nauseum about how the boys needed that. And I mean, it just shows too, another great take by us, credit to us. I'm getting a little sore on my back here from all these bats, but they follow the leader. Yep. You think Ridley Gregg, when's the last time he dropped the gloves? I think it was when he was answering for a hit a couple months ago, even maybe the Minnesota game earlier this year. But man, you follow the leader. That's what the Senators did. Shane Pinto after the game says, as Timmy and Brady go, we go. And Timmy now, no points in 3 games, and it doesn't even matter because the team is finding different ways to produce. And last night it was the captain's turn to lead the way.
Yeah, and for people that were saying our takes aged poorly, I don't think they understand what we were doing. We weren't condemning Brady Tkachuk for his lack of physical play. We were pleading, encouraging, suggesting. So yeah, that was perfect. And you could just feel it, Ross. I was on FanDuel, Brady point, Brady shots, Brady goal. Like,
the only one that didn't hit was a power play point.
Yeah, exactly. So for him to get that, like I had beer league last night, so I missed most of the game. Came home, was watching the game in my hot tub with headphones on, and Brady scores that. And I'm just yelling and screaming in my backyard.
Hey, you got to refill the hot tub. You knocked all the water out of it celebrating.
Yeah, no kidding. My neighbors probably thought I was going crazy back there, but just an all-time moment. And let's also not gloss over the fact, yes, big statement game by the captain at home in front of the fans, reminding them what he can do and how he can lead. But getting that game winning goal in regulation was huge for the standings. Not only, obviously, you don't want to give the Islanders any points, who the Islanders now sitting outside of a playoff spot with that loss. Columbus Blue Jackets jumped them into that third spot in the Metro. But you also increase your regulation wins, which I think that might end up playing a part here. With how tight this race is, you want to have that ace up your sleeve that you've got the advantage in the tiebreaker with other Atlantic and wildcard teams. So just a massive, massive goal to be scored in the dying seconds.
It was as excited as I've been for a win that we haven't been boots on the ground for all season. Like, just the way that they were able to do it, the way that they were able to really, I think, solidify themselves in the third period, because everyone's going to talk about that moment, rightfully so. But the shots on goal in the third period, I mean, it told you the story of this game. Ottawa controlled it completely. They had multiple opportunities. I do not know how Michael Amadio's 2-on-1 chance did not go in the back of the net. It hit Sorokin's glove, and it just didn't keep rolling. It just landed in the crease and didn't move. But Ottawa controlled this game for the entirety of the third. Well, I shouldn't say the entirety. They gave up the goal very early in the period.
And that was the Islanders' only shot, Ross. One goal, one shot in the third. So, like, if you're the Sens, you're probably sitting there being like, man, we're controlling things. One shot gets through. Doesn't matter. They don't give up. They keep pushing.
They keep pushing, and they're going to need to continue even further when you look at what's coming up, and we'll touch on that later on in the show. Pilsy, I meant to play this in the postcast last night, but I want to, for the audio listeners and for the people who didn't get to catch Jack Richardson doing the live stream, because his reaction, I mean, this is why you do the live streams. You want to engage and have a great time with the citizens. The numbers have been off the charts, and it's moments like this that make it so special. Here's Jack Richardson's live reaction to the Brady Tkachuk goal that won the game.
Wings it around, 15 seconds left. Spence throws it to the net, it's loose! Brady Tkachuk, man, let's go! Oh my God, 11 seconds left! The captain! There's no way! There's just no way! You could not write a better story. What a bounce. Tkachuk. Of course it's Brady Tkachuk. Of course it's Brady Tkachuk, man. Let's go.
That's awesome.
There's no way. There's just no way call. That's going to go down in the history books in all-time calls. Jack was having an absolute blast, and he deserves a moment like that for the moments going the other way and not so fun that he's had to endure live. So shout out, Jack.
And shout out to just the team top to bottom. The depth scoring comes through again with Warren Foegele. By the way, that was a shift where it was Tim Stützle filling in at center on the fourth line with Zetterlund and with Foegele. That worked out well. Those guys played a minute and 20 seconds together. The shot attempts were 7-0 for Ottawa when those three were on the ice, and they obviously come up so big with the game-tying goal. The Sens don't win this game unless they tie it first. So I don't think we can gloss over that nice little play, too. Like, that's a bouncing puck that Fogel's got to find behind the goal line, pull it out, and get it in the back. On the left side, too, is a left-hand shot. That's a tough play to tuck it in backhand there.
Well, he banks it off Sorokin diving back, so you get a bit of puck luck there. And shout out Denis Gilbert.
Hey,
secondary assist.
Looking like Denis Potvin out there, eh? Pucks on net. Now, it might have been a floater, but Brady Tkachuk said after the game, one of the things that the Senators have been instructed to do is, even if it's not a clear lane to the net from the point, shoot it at bodies, because you never know where it's going to bounce. Both of the Senators' third period goals come off of shots from the point that hit bodies, bounce around, and end up with a fortuitous bounce right onto the stick of the player that put it in the back of the net, and it just had to be the captain last night. Just incredible to see. The Senators, by the way, won that game by a score of 3-2, and that gives them their 29th regulation win of the season, which is the most of any team in the wild card race. The Senators, though, still 5 points out. They do have a game in hand on both Boston and Detroit. And you can even start looking like Montreal's got 84 points as well. Columbus at 83 and Pittsburgh with 84, all in the Metropolitan Division. And the Islanders have 83 as well. So there's that clump of teams. And we'll let you know after the break why this is going to get even more interesting if Ottawa take care of business on Saturday with the way that the out-of-town scoreboard is set up no matter what. We'll get to that next. We'll look at how the D-core, in particular, Thomas Chabot and Jordan Spence, have elevated in the absence of Jake Sanderson. Plus, we'll look at a weekend preview ahead of the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. Much like a lot of people, my bracket already busted a couple upsets early, but FanDuel makes it exciting to watch those games, and they're giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. FanDuel's already got the odds for tomorrow's game up against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Sens, heavy favorites at home, minus 295, over under set at 5.5. So go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all this season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen and helping the Locked On Podcast Network become the #1 sports podcast network. If you want all of our content ad-free as well as access to our members-only Discord, you can check out the Supercast link below to join our Everydayers Club. All right, Pilsy, to put a bow on the Brady Tkachuk conversation from last night, our friends over at OptaStats noted that last night, Brady Tkachuk became the first player in NHL history with a fighting major in the first minute of regulation and a game-winning goal in the last minute of regulation in the same game. Like, that is obscure, but man, it's sick.
That's the Brady Tkachuk experience right there. I mean, that's what you want from your captain. All right, puck's dropped, get it going, quick tilt. Dying seconds of the game, it's tied. Score that clutch goal, and at home in front of all the fans, you'll love to see it.
I'm a little upset that the TSN camera was focused just on the face-off dot, because if there was like an all-22 style camera above, everyone would have known, because Brady Tkachuk lined up at right wing for the opening face-off.
True.
Might be the only time he's lined up at right wing in the neutral zone all season, so you knew something was up. And Shane Pinto, who sits next to Brady Tkachuk in the locker room, said, yeah, I knew he was going to go. Even Travis Green said before, after the game, like, I had a feeling he might be ready to go. Brady said he made up his mind throughout the day, probably after he listened to Locked On Sens.
Yeah, I mean, and good choice. And especially like captain versus captain right off the draw, center ice. That's so awesome.
And the final piece of poetry in all this goes back to October in one of the most devastating early season losses that Ottawa had against the New York Islanders. It was Anders Lee, their captain, that stripped the puck and scored in the final minute. So in both games, I think there was a third one in New York, but both games in Ottawa this season, the captain scored the game winner in the final minute, and they fought at center ice. Like, that's hockey.
And Ross, to continue on the poeticness of this, who did Anders Lee beat to get that puck to score the game-winning goal?
Jordan Spence. Let me ask you a question. Who took the shot to create the game winner?
The primary assist was Jordan Spence. I mean, how can you not be romantic about hockey? Imagine not liking hockey. Greatest game on earth. Let's go.
It's a perfect transition into how the Ottawa Senators have handled the loss of their most important defenseman, Jake Sanderson. The Sens are now 4-2-0 with Jake Sanderson out of the lineup. And now you can even double down that. No Nick Jensen either for the last 2 games, or the last 3 games. And you're looking at a situation where the last 4 games, rather, he played 2. My apologies. That all said, the Ottawa Senators are right now in a situation where their depth is being tested and the boys are coming through. Now, it was almost kind of like stressful in a way because you know that Denis Gilbert is the 6th defenseman. Like, he didn't even play 10 minutes in last night's game. He was pretty limited. I thought he made an impact beyond just the shot that created the tying goal. I thought that he was getting in the mix a little bit too physically. He had a good little battle or two in the defensive zone where him and, I don't know if it was Barzal or Horvat, one of the guys kept going back and trying to cross-check him again and again. And that's what you need from your depth guys. But it's the big dogs that come through. Thomas Chabot, how much ice time? Almost 31 minutes last night?
30-53. And that's off coming out of a game playing, I think it was like 28. 20 or something like that. Like Thomas, but think back to the days when Thomas Chabot was playing plus 25 minutes every single night. This guy's a horse for a reason. He's got that endurance.
I'm glad you mentioned that because the LOSP stats department has gone back and said, when's the last time Thomas Chabot played that much in one game? The answer, you have to go back to 2022, December of 2022. Where he played 31:04. Now get this. That was a shootout game. He also played over 31 minutes 2 other times in the 2022-23 season. Both of those games went to overtime. If you're looking at a regulation game where Thomas Chabot played more than he did last night, you have to go back to November 22nd of 2021. We're talking a month after fans were allowed back in the building after COVID was the last time Chabot played that much in a game that did not go to overtime. They lost that game 7-5 against Colorado. And I know there's exactly one person out there that immediately said, hey, that's the Zach Sanford hat trick game for the Ottawa Senators.
Who could forget?
I mean, you're talking about 5 years ago, Pillsy, and to do it in the second half of back-to-back, stick tap to Thomas Chabot. What a performance for him, carrying so much responsibility and coming through clutch for him as well. And you look at it like he's had a good supporting cast back there. Jordan Spence is the guy I really want to highlight because since Jake Sanderson has gotten hurt, and that was March 7th, in the 6 games, Jordan Spence's expected goals percentage at 5-on-5 is 71.2%. Jordan Spence is among, if not the NHL leader in expected goals percentage. Like, this guy, when he's on the ice, the puck is just always in the offensive zone.
Yeah, he's so good. I mean, even defensively, I find myself being really impressed with how he plays, and him and Tyler Clevin, that's almost as in stone, if not as in stone as Sanderson Zub when these guys are healthy. And you look at it, you've got 2 D pairs that are working really well. Each guy knows their role. So now all we need to do is find that partner for Thomas Chabot, and you've got a back end that you're really comfortable with. And the way Jordan Spence is playing, you can play him anywhere. Like, he's been mostly a third pair guy, but he's showing he can handle second pair minutes, not just handle them, excel in second pair minutes. He could play top pair with Jake Sanderson. Those two have had good numbers together. I mean, that would be breaking up the both pairs that I just said you should keep in stone. But Jordan Spence really makes you much more comfortable that maybe the idea that this team's desperate need to acquire a right shot defenseman isn't as prioritized as we kind of felt it was.
Well, when Thomas Chabot plays as much as he does, he's going to play with everybody. But you want to hear a nice little stat? 5 minutes and 16 seconds together last night at 5-on-5. We saw Thomas Chabot and Jordan Spence play together. Pillsy, the shot attempts were 12-1 Ottawa during that 5 minutes and 16 seconds.
So maybe Jordan Spence is the partner for Thomas Chabot. But if you look at it, Ross, I'm going on Money Puck right now.
I'm already there. Chabot
Okay.
Spence is the number one pair for the Ottawa Senators in expected goals percentage this year. Number 2 is Sanderson Spence. Number 3 is Cleven Spence.
I mean, literally, there's no Spence. Those are his top 3 partners.
The only 3 that he's played more.
Yeah,
there's only 3.
And
1,
he's
2,
number
3.
1, 2, and 3 on expected goals for. Like, this guy is just so good. It's crazy.
He is an incredible. They got him for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. Like, are you kidding me? Or a 3rd and a 6th?
And let's extend that, Ross. That 3rd round pick they got was from moving back 2 spaces in the draft, and they still got the guy they wanted.
And the 6th round pick was in exchange for Kevin Mandolese.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you can look at this franchise asset management and you can be disappointed, absolutely. But it's moves like that where you got to give a lot of credit. And I mean, most of the asset management and mismanagement was not on Steve Staios and this regime, but it's moves like that where you can really see the way that Steve Staios is able to pick his spots.
And we're going to spend time in the summer. I know there's a couple people out there that brought it up in the postcast chat. Like, what's Jordan Spence's next contract look like?
Fascinating.
We'll have plenty of time to discuss that in the offseason, but we do know that he's a restricted free agent. So it's not a complete worry right now. He's obviously going to be due for a big raise from the $1.5 million he's making right now. But that stat that we just read out is absolutely incredible. And if you do look at it, Jordan Spence is one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League at making sure that the puck is in the offensive zone at all times. If you just look at how he controls the game, and he does it so seamlessly, and I honestly think that he should get more credit for how well he defends too, because he defends differently than a lot of other guys. It's not that big and make sure that you crush them into the boards and finish your hits, but he's got a very active stick, and he's just been such a great sign for the Ottawa Senators to just have in a situation where you need guys to step up. And like, I can't imagine where Ottawa would be if they didn't have Jordan Spence right now.
I don't want to imagine, Ross. I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. He is 2nd in the National Hockey League in expected goals percentage at 5-on-5. Only Shane Gostisbehere of the Carolina Hurricanes is ahead of him. And if you go down, Darren Radish, who some people might be like, oh, who? Darren Radish is a point per game defenseman this year with
He's having a good year.
Then it's Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox to wrap up the top 5.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good group.
Pretty good company. And credit to Tyler Cleven, too. Credit to Nicholas Matinpalo. I'm always amazed at a guy who's in and out of the lineup like Matinpalo had been when they come in and they just have confidence. Like, they want the puck when they're on the ice. And I find he's become a lot more confident in breaking out of the zone too. Like, he's not a guy that's going to defer and wait for his partner and be like, no, you take it out. He'll just do it himself. Great outlet pass.
I mean, he's kind of had to, Ross. Like Dennis Gilbert, that's not exactly his skill set, right? So Matinpalo has had to take charge and take initiative on being more of a puck-moving defenseman than he typically is. And he kind of, I think when he played with Cleven was more the guy that ended up moving the puck a little bit more. But Matinpalo hasn't really had the luxury of playing with a more transitional guy on his left side. So you got to be really impressed with how Matinpalo has been just sitting there, and now he gets his opportunity, and he's doing a good job with it.
A lot of things can change between now and when Jake Sanderson returns, but is the move to put Matinpalo on the left side? Because like when Sanderson got hurt, Jedson was still there. Mm-hmm. And then now that you've had a lefty and a righty out, obviously Gilbert's in. But when you put Sandy back in, I'm completely messed that one up. But when you put Sandy in, how do you move things around? Like, because you're in a spot now where it's like Cleven and Spence is a pair. You just said they're in stone. So now when you have that pair there, like,
I don't know, because I started thinking, like, what about Chabot, Matinpalo? But they haven't played much, if any, time at all. And then what? You're not going to put Chabot on your third pair. I don't know.
It's problem for another day.
Yeah, problem for another day. Yeah, let's go with that, because we got a lot to get into, Ross. Let's not forget, big game tomorrow, Saturday night, up against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The playoffs continue. Like, we're in the playoffs right now, if you're an Ottawa Senators fan.
Game 7.
We've got the doomsday clock at 4. How many losses to lose a playoff series? 4. The only difference is Ottawa's got 14 games remaining in the regular season, and they have 4 regulation losses available to them, we believe, to make a push for the postseason. Okay, game preview next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part's not always so simple. But that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with you, the fans. If you check out the Game Time app, you can find NBA and NHL tickets in minutes. I love that it's all in pricing up front. No surprise fees at checkout. And you can see the view from your seat before buying. It's going to make your decision a lot easier where you want to sit. Zone deals are clutch. You choose the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save. Great last minute options too. If you're deciding as the game's coming up, hey, I want to go out there, want to have a good time, use Game Time. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Ross and I are Game Time guys. We use Game Time to get our tickets when we went to Ottawa. And you can too. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA and NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com.
All right, Pillsy. So the Ottawa Senators took care of business last night, but so did pretty much everybody else. The Detroit Red Wings beat the Montreal Canadiens 3-1. You had Columbus doubling up the New York Rangers 6-3. And in games of lesser importance, but stick with me, I'm going somewhere here. The Panthers shut out the Oilers 4-0. The Lightning beat the Canucks 6-2. The Sabres beat the Sharks 5-0. And the Flyers beat the Kings 4-3 in a shootout. Why have they not relegated the Western Conference yet? This is a complete joke.
Yeah, maybe we got to send more flowers to Gary Bettman, Ross, to get him to make another decision for the Sens.
There is a place in California called Ontario. Do you think we could claim that and get ourselves into the Pacific Division?
Yeah, maybe sneak a little of that in, like just have Google Maps always refer Ontario as the Ontario and Cali. Yeah, let's go with that. That's probably our best bet.
I think so. 6 teams in the Atlantic Division would be first place in the Pacific as of this morning. And listen to those scores. That's not even close.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
That's 18-5 on aggregate when the East played the West yesterday. And I'm sorry, I missed one. Boston beat Winnipeg 6-1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What a joke.
Another tough one. But hey, Ross, all you can do is take control of the games you're playing and get wins. And that's what we need from the Sens tomorrow night.
And our good friend Everyday Sens is just all over the stats department. He's got the EDS stats department is the only one that rivals the LOSP stats department. And Ottawa, this is the next 4 days that we care about. Tomorrow, of course, the game we're about to preview, Sens Leafs, is number one, most important, take care of business. Then you've got, and I've been going back and forth with this, whether I like it, love it, or hate it. Detroit plays Boston on Saturday, and Montreal plays the New York Islanders. So is that good or is that bad? Depends how you want to spin it. I guess somebody's losing. Do you care who wins, or is it more so just please don't go past regulation?
I still believe Detroit is the team that is more likely to fall and the team that Ottawa can catch, and that's a team that you play again moving forward. So basically, yeah, regulation, and I hope the worst for Detroit. Sorry, Locked On Red Wings. Good guys, but
great guys.
We got to bounce them.
We do, and it's just, hey, not personal, but kind of is at the same time because Ottawa needs to get in the playoffs. It's not
personal, it's business.
Business. It's true. It's true. It's the business of personally getting into the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
But then the Habs Islanders game's interesting too because the Islanders are 1 point up on Ottawa, and if they win against Montreal, then they're in the playoff spot if Detroit loses all of a sudden. But the spin zone of that would be if the Islanders win, then the Habs become more catchable if Ottawa can win as well. So you know what? take care of business yourselves, Ottawa, on Saturday, and let the chips fall where they may going into Monday, where Ottawa is the only one of those teams playing. It's the only game on Monday. How cool is that? All eyes at MSG.
Amazon Prime, too.
They don't have a captain anymore. So we're not getting a center ice tilt there at MSG like we did a number of years ago when we had Trouba and Tkachuk going toe-to-toe. But if Ottawa then takes care of business on Monday in a game against the worst team in the Eastern Conference, the Sens can be either tied, ahead of, or 1 point back of the Detroit Red Wings if they beat them on Tuesday. So you're working up to Tuesday. These are two games that you should win. You talked in your ad read about the odds very heavily in Ottawa's favor on Saturday. And I'm going to go ahead and assume it'll be the same on Monday against the New York Rangers. But this is movement time. Like if you're looking at, like, to use an analogy of like running an 800-meter run, you're coming down. There's about 200 left. So you're going, like, you're always running fast. But now it's full sprint here to the finish line because
an 800-meter run, the classic 800-meter.
I think it's an Olympic event.
No, it is, but that it's just a funny distance to pick.
Yeah, I ran a half marathon once and I didn't run at the end. I didn't have enough gas left in the tank.
800 meters is not a half marathon.
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't want to use that. I didn't want to use that because there's no running for me at the end of a half marathon. I think I could still, like.
What about a kilometer? Ante. That one, not a kilometer guy?
No, not really. I like walking kilometers more so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. You're talking about Monday, Tuesday. Let's talk about tomorrow's game.
Okay. Well, this lineup, and I actually pulled up because we still had the Toronto Maple Leafs lines from the playoff series. This is not the same team that we saw last April.
No. I mean, their captain injured, Chris Tanev injured, Mitch
their
Marner,
best player gone. Yeah.
And Anthony Stolarz is not the Anthony Stolarz of the playoffs.
Ottawa would have swept the Leafs if this Anthony Stolarz was in net last April.
I don't know about swept, but certainly would have.
Game one, they would have won.
Yeah, that's what.
And then Ottawa would have won the next 4 straight.
Yeah.
So, should we pull up the lines here for the Leafs?
Let's do it.
All right. John Tavares is the number 1 center, with Matias Maccelli and William Nylander on his wings. Max Domi is between Matthew Nyes and Easton Cowan. The third line has Bo Groulx between Dakota Joshua and Nick Robertson. And the fourth line is Jacob Quillen with Steven Lorenz and Kalle Järnkrok. On defense, Morgan Riley with Philippe Myers. Jake McCabe with Brandon Carlo, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson is with Troy Stetcher. And get this, the Leafs play tonight at home against Carolina. So who knows whether it'll be Joseph Woll or Anthony Stolarz in goal for the game on Saturday. Pilsy, this team stinks, and Ottawa got a firsthand look of that. I want to say that during this run that the Sens have been on since January 13th, the easiest win they had was the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is that fair to say, that 5-2 win?
Easiest win by far. I mean, not even close. And Ross, it's sad because obviously so many Leafs fans around. I got Leafs family and friends, and usually when these games come up, we're texting back and forth, throwing chirps back. The winner is excited. There was none of that. I even tried to poke at my Leafs fans in my circle, and they're just like, honestly, we're just so embarrassed about how that game went. Yeah,
it's hard. You can't beat up a fan base that's beating themselves up even harder.
That's the thing. Like, it just takes the fun out of it. So we'll see. I'm not saying I'm hoping for a better performance from them, because I would love to just embarrass them and dominate them again, especially at home at the CTC. But yeah, they're down bad.
Now, the thing is, and Sens fans can relate to this, when a season's not going your way, there's always like a no-name guy that pops off. And I'd like to shout out Brian Gibbons for the Ottawa Senators in that situation. But my lookout player is going to be Benoit Olivier Groulx. Bo Groulx. Now, you might have heard the name before because his old man was a candidate to be the head coach of the Ottawa Senators back then. Benoit Groulx former head coach of the Gatineau Olympique. I'm not sure where he is now. He is coaching in Switzerland now.
Wasn't there a goalie coach for the Sens, Gru?
Yeah, no relation there.
Okay.
But Benoit Gru was the head coach for the Gatineau Olympiques and their general manager. He was a head coach in the American Hockey League for a long time, ended up taking a job in the KHL anyways. That said, Bo Gru is a Gatineau boy. He grew up just across the bridge from Ottawa. And after getting an opportunity here, this is a guy who was a second-round pick in Brady Tkachuk's draft year, so he's 26 years old. He's got 3 goals and 4 points in 5 games. He's +5 with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you got to be aware of these guys who are taking an opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have gotten if they were in a different circumstance and run with it. So my lookout player is going to be number 29 on the Leafs, Bo Gru.
Okay, similar for me. I'm going to be looking out for a guy that's getting an opportunity and trying to make the most of it. That's number 63, Mattias Maccelli. Obviously, he's from Finland.
Former teammate of Lassie Thompson, who's up with Ottawa right now with Eels. Remember when we were big Eels guys? They had Järventie, they had Lassie Thompson, and the other 2 guys they had were Mattias Maccelli and Lucas Dostal. Pretty good team, actually, when you look back.
Yeah, ironically, Robbie Järventie just called up to the Oilers, too.
I wonder how the Old English Pub is doing. Remember all their goals were sponsored by that?
Yeah, and that crazy, rough-looking mascot that they
Oh, yeah. He looked like Lenny the Lynx. Fell on hard times.
Yeah. But anyways, Mattias Maccelli, in his last 14 games, he's got 12 points. And as you can see here, he's playing up on that top line with Tavares and Nylander. The Leafs were hoping Maccelli would replace some.
No. Say they were hoping he replaced it bar for bar.
Bar for bar, guy for guy, replace Marner's points. I mean, he's got 33 points in 58 games.
Same initials as Mitch Marner.
Yep. They almost made it. 63 instead of 93. Although no, Marner was wearing a
16.
different number. 16, right? Yeah. But Ross, Maccelli is a guy that you and I really liked when he was in Arizona and even in Utah. Like he's got
playmaker. He's
got sneaky skill, so you do have to watch out for him. So I will be looking out for him in this game.
And it's funny, something came out a couple weeks ago, I think it was right before the deadline, that they might be looking to let him walk. I think he's an RFA after this year too, and that maybe it just hasn't worked out from their standpoint. I don't really see him as RFA. A Craig Berube type player, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think so either. And I even think he's been healthy scratched a little bit along the way here. So it was the experiment didn't really work out the way they want, but I mean, when you get to play with good players, Tavares and Nylander are both good players. Things have been really turning around for him.
But that's not a line you have to worry about physically at all.
No.
I know that Mattias Maccelli has 18 hits this season, and I always like looking at William Nylander.
I think he's at 6. I saw a Leafs account say, I forget which player, but one Leafs player had 6 hits in one game. That equaled Nylander's total hits for the season.
Well, yeah, when Ottawa played in Toronto last game, Dylan Cousins had 4 hits in the first period, and at that point, William Nylander had 4 hits all season.
Yeah.
So the key to stopping that line, and Tavares is having a nice season. Like he's one of those guys where, you felt like with the way he played, maybe he would slow down because he was so good down low when he was younger, and maybe that's something where as your strength goes, you go. He's 35 years old, but he's been one of the bright spots on that team. And don't look at the plus minus. Obviously, on a bad team, everybody stinks. But he's got 55 points in 69 games, only averaging 18.02 per game. That's lower than last year by 15 seconds, where he scored 38. So Tavares is obviously going to be a guy you have to key in on when you're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. But that's a line where if you're physically imposing on them, you should be able to control it. So they've got the skill line there, and then they've got their gritty line here with Max Domi and Matthew Nyes and Easton Cowan, where they're hoping that that's going to be more of a grinder line, even though other than Nyes, Domi and Cowan aren't the biggest guys. So we'll see. And Domi will punch you in the back of the head if he gets a chance, but he won't face you one-on-one. And I don't think anybody needs to poke that bear. Just let him sleep and let him just run around and be a clown and just play your game.
I want to see Nick Cousins and Max Domi have an interaction. Who turtles first?
An interaction is a great way to put it, because that was the same play that Nick Cousins ended up. Who did he end up fighting there? Was it Jake McCabe?
I don't remember.
But it was on that same play where all hell broke loose because, shocker, Ridley Gregg bumped into the goalie, and it was a complete yard sale in front. And that's where Max Domi was looking at whoever wasn't looking at him and wanted to make an impact there. But you always have to be wary, too, about a team that's been called out for being soft. And obviously, there's been a lot of talk in the national media / Leafs media where they didn't stand up for the hit that knocked Austin Matthews out of the season. Greasy hit. And we're obviously never rooting for injuries. And it sucks to see a guy like that out of the lineup. But when you're looking at the lack of response there, you saw the next game, Morgan Riley, I think it was the next game. Yeah, I think he got in a fight. Like, okay, guys, but you do have to be understanding that this is a team that has been called out. So how are they going to look on the second half of back-to-back? So we're not going to get too much into the stats other than I'm going to go ahead and assume William Nylander will still be at 6 hits after tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. But this is a game you have to score first. I think it's fair to say that there's not going to be nearly as much blue in the crowd as we may have become used to. I think it'll be more like the playoffs, like where like there's still going to be Leaf fans. There's still fans that live in Ottawa, but I don't think you're going to get the traveling fans who are coming from Belleville, coming from Kingston, coming from 2 hours away to go watch a team that has just perennially disappointed them. And if you go and check out our friends over at Game Time, like the prices have dropped substantially for this game. And you got to think the reason why is Leaf fans trying to get rid of their tickets. The tickets right now are going from $50 USD for a Leafs game. Like that's pretty uncommon. So get in the building. Like you don't like it when Habs fans and Leaf fans pack the building. This is the perfect opportunity to go and put a Sens jersey on and be a part of the solution, because it's not going to get this easy to kick Leafs and Habs fans out of the building than it will tomorrow night.
Yep. Show up. I mean, look at the performance fans were treated to last night at the CTC.
I'm just thinking of the young family, to no fault of their own. I get it. Bedtimes are non-negotiable, but if you left that game early to beat the traffic and get out of the parking lot early, though, like that game is the reason why you don't do it.
Yeah, among other reasons.
Never leave a hockey game early. Unless they're losing 7-0. That's the one time that I left the Sens game early. I was just disgusted. I was like, I'm not watching this. I am taking a silent protest and I am leaving this barn. It was in the second period too. I was like, nope, I'm done. That's it for me. Thanks for coming out. But this, like, key to victory, score first, score early, get a 2-0 lead. I'm not saying coast after that, but just take the piss out of the Toronto Maple Leafs early on in the game and just let them bury themselves from there.
Yeah, let's take a look at the players that will be hoping to do that for the Sens.
Let's look at it. We're expecting it to be the same lineup that we saw against the Islanders yesterday. Tim Stützle with Brady Tkachuk. I just have Brady on my mind. Obviously, no changes in the lineup. It's Drake Batherson and Claude Giroux on Timmy's wings. Dylan Cousins with Brady Tkachuk and Ridley Gregg. Shane Pinto between Nick Cousins and Michael Amadio. Lars Eller centering Warren Foegele and Fabian Zetterlund. On the back end, Thomas Chabot with Artem Zub. Tyler Klevin with Jordan Spence. Dennis Gilbert coming on. He's on a 1-game point streak, ladies and gentlemen, with Nicholas Matt-Palo. I mean, all signs, you got to think it's Linus Allmark starting in goal and James Reimer, the backup. By the way, I promise I'll do a better job here on Twitter at Sens Central. I get excited sometimes and I just tweet out during the game one word. I tweeted out Jimmy in all caps. And people are like, what? Timmy didn't do anything.
I was wondering what that was.
James Reimer, Jimmy Reimer. I don't know. I'm just having some fun with it. That was a sick save, though, right to left in the slot. That was his best save of the night. I also like the one in the third period, just again off track, but it was a side door play where Anders Lee was trying to control it and Reimer was down. But Reimer, instead of just keeping himself compact, he was like reaching out with his glove, almost putting like a target there. And Lee just shot it right into the mitt. I was like, that's a set. That's just great veteran awareness by the goaltender. So shout out to Jimmy James Reimer here. I mean, it's incredible what he's done, but also incredible what the Sens have done. They've allowed less than 20 shots on goal now in 6 straight James Reimer games. And I mean, they gave up 19 shots against the Habs in Levi Marilainen's last game. Like when a backup goalie is in, they allow even less than they do on any given day. It's this team structure. I'm going to keep saying they're too good not to make the playoffs.
Shout out Shane Pinto. Yeah, James Reimer is now 5-3-1 with a 247 goals against average. Like he's doing what we ask of him.
Well, I've been quoting our guy Tyler on Twitter for quite some time. Politics Can is his username. Since Ullmark first dressed after his leave of absence and the goaltending duo became him and James Reimer, the Sens have gotten an .898 save percentage, and they're 12-3-2. It's all we talked about. Just give us average goaltending, and they have. So shout out to him. Who's your locked on player to watch tomorrow night?
Well, my locked on player to watch tomorrow night is going to be Ridley Gregg. I'm sure all the Leafs fans are going to be locked on to him as well. They love Ridley Gregg over in Toronto.
How can you not?
Yeah. Ross, he's sitting at 5 games without a point. Last time he got a point was a goal up against the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, gets in that tilt last night, so he gets involved. But look, he's on a line with Brady Tkachuk, Dylan Cousins. I know he's not the guy that's expected to put up points on that line. He has a bit of a different role, but I wouldn't mind him getting on the score sheet here up against the Maple Leafs, and then just give him that sly grin that Ridley Gregg does just to stick it to them. So I'm going to be locked on to 71.
71, Ridley Gregg. Riddle me this, riddle me that. Ridley freaking Gregg, as we were so like that clip. And I haven't played it in a while. I should have posted it yesterday. I was too excited after his fight. But when he got drafted and the guy at Elite Prospects was just calling it the worst pick ever. Ridley Gregg, by the way, he was always a guy that like needed to fill out. Like he was probably 160 pounds when he was drafted. Like he needed to fill out. He's still only 23 years old. When Ridley Gregg is 28 to 32 years old, he is going to be a mutant to play against because he's so fast. He's got a good nose for the net, and he can make silky plays with his hands. Like he's going to be an absolute player. And I think it's going to happen before the end of this contract as well. But I think him on his next contract, whether it's a $5 million deal, maybe a bit more with the cap going up, like he's going to be a very, very valuable player. And I hope he's an Ottawa Senator for life. Jack called him untouchable the last time I spoke with him. And I mean, can you really argue that? Now, early in the show, I did say that Ridley Gregg hadn't fought in quite some time. That's kind of a lie, but kind of not. He did fight, remember Podkolzin in Edmonton after a hit, and Podkolzin got the instigator because they called it a roughing, not an instigator, but it was after Ridley Gregg threw a big hit. So Ridley isn't afraid to drop the gloves, but we know that he loves playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So a very good locked on player to watch. In Ridley Gregg's career against the Toronto Maple Leafs, he has 2 goals and an assist in 11 games, +4 with 18 penalty minutes. So riddle me that. My locked on player, I'm going to leave the guys that we've already talked about today. So, I mean, Brady Tkachuk, Jordan Spence, those are obviously guys that I'm going to be keyed in on, but we've given them a lot of love in today's episode. So I'm going to go with Shane Pinto because that John Tavares line, and most importantly, John Tavares, is the straw that stirs the drink with the injuries that they have. So if you can take him out of the game, as Pinto has been able to do with other top centers in the league, you're really neutering what the offensive capabilities of the Toronto Maple Leafs are. So I think Shane Pinto is the most important player going into tomorrow's game.
Yep, definitely. You're going to like that top line is going to be the make or break for the Leafs tomorrow. So if you can neutralize them, you're probably going to put yourself in a good spot.
And I would also like to see tomorrow a couple more shifts of Stützle playing with Warren Foegele and Fabian Zetterlund. I just think that they like Lars Eller's been perfectly fine. I got no qualms with him being a 4th line guy, helping kill penalties and all that. But I just think that there's so much speed on the wing there that if they have a centerman that can skate with them, I think it'll just elevate them even more, like we saw with their game-tying goal yesterday. So that's just something that within the game, I don't need it to be on paper to start, but we have seen Claude Giroux's ice time take a big nosedive recently. And I think that the way that you can continue getting Timmy his ice time, but move Giroux in particular, and to a lesser extent Batherson down a touch, would be to give Timmy a couple shifts with that 4th line. So that's just something I'd like to see going into tomorrow's game, which is a 7:00 Hockey Night in Canada game. No live stream tomorrow. We don't think. Check in on YouTube yesterday if that changes, but we will have the postcast for you immediately following the final Battle of Ontario of the season. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show? Oh, I lied. Sens Leafs last game of the season as well. Sens have the Leafs 2 more times.
Yes. Yeah. The final game of the season is up against the Leafs for the Ottawa Senators.
In Ottawa too, right? Yeah, it is.
I believe so.
Yeah. Most of Ottawa's final stretch years at home.
Yeah. Their last 3 games, though, on the road in New York against the Islanders, and then that's back-to-back on the road against New Jersey. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But that's a weekend back-to-back, which we like those.
Oh, we love those. 4 of the next 6 are on the road, and then they'll come home for a 5-game homestand. Tough homestand, though. Buffalo, Minnesota, Carolina, Tampa, and Florida.
Let's go.
Hey, you got to just play the games that are ahead of you. Let's go. Love it. Pillsy, final thoughts? You got him on today's show?
Just final thoughts for me is I'm so happy that we saw a vintage Brady Tkachuk game. We were longing for it. We asked for it. We encouraged it. We suggested it, and we got it. So shout out Brady, the captain, for giving it to us.
And the Belleville Sens are in action twice this weekend. They're hosting the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins and the Springfield Thunderbirds. The game against Cleveland Wednesday was horrific. It was literally 2-2 in the second period. And then I looked at it later, and it was 7-2 for Cleveland. Yikes.
Oops.
This is so far gone, but I don't know if Mads is going to be back next year. I think they might not qualify him. Why would you not give Jackson Parsons more games right now down the stretch in Belleville?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they still thought they're at a point where they could salvage the season, which probably was a long shot. I don't know. Maybe he's got to be the number 1 guy in Allen, though. So
yeah, he's playing.
I think you want to get him games over anything. And I think it's really good to get young goalies games in the ECHL because that is a scrambly, wild league. You cannot rely on your defenseman. You got to make first, second, and oftentimes third saves. So I think it's good experience for him.
Okay, we'll touch on that as things develop in the weeks ahead. Long show today, but we did it because it was an absolute blast to watch last night's game. For today, we say goodbye. We'll see you in the postcast tomorrow. And we've got our good friend Andy Petrillo from Prime Monday Night Hockey going to stop by on Monday to shoot the breeze for our 1,500th daily episode. Not counting postcasts, not counting bonus content, daily Monday through Friday episodes of LOSP. We thank you so much for liking, watching, listening, engaging with the show. Click the thumbs up, leave a comment below on YouTube as well. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.